We went from a secure border to chaos. We went from energy independence to the president begging Iran, OPEC, and Venezuela to increase production. We went from safe streets to record levels of crime in every major urban area. And we went from stable prices to a 41-year high inflation rate. And I haven't even got into foreign policy or the attacks on our First Amendment. And, of course, last week, the attacks on our Second Amendment rights. So there's a reason, Maria, more than 7 out of 10 of our fellow citizens think the country is on the wrong track. They think that because it's true. They understand this great country is in a terrible situation because of Joe Biden and their policies.
That was Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan on the program last month on why he expects a red wave this November. With 85% of Americans now saying that the country is on the wrong track and Biden's approval rating at an all-time low of 39%. Joining me right now is New York Congressman Lee Zeldin. He's a member of the Foreign Affairs and Financial Services Committees. He's also running for governor of New York. Congressman, it's great to see you. Congratulations on winning a very decisive victory in your primary race Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. I had the honor and privilege of serving with you in the Congress. I've seen you up close and personal, and congratulations on that victory. But, you know, when you first got into it, you were going to go up against Andrew Cuomo, and you're a Republican, but things have changed, and they're certainly going your direction. Why is it that you got into this race, and what is it about Governor Hochul that you think is so imperative that New Yorkers make a change?
Well, similarly to that clip you're just playing of Jim Jordan talking about what's happening nationally, we see it in New York where we have one-party Democrat rule taking our state in the wrong direction. And I really feel like we have to save our state. We lead the entire country in population loss. People are heading to states elsewhere because they feel like their money will go further. They will feel safer, that life can be lived freer. So I'm all in. And I feel like New Yorkers of all walks of life, of different political parties, different counties and regions of the state, they all feel like crime and public safety and the economy, especially those two issues above all else, are really taking this state in the wrong direction. And a lot of average New Yorkers, kind of like how we see a lot of average Americans viewing the Biden administration, they feel like change has to come this November in this what feels like battle for the heart and soul of our country and our states.
By a margin of more than 300%, or 3 times, I should say, New Yorkers are saying inflation is their biggest concern. Recent polling says that inflation is the biggest issue. What can you do as governor to help tackle inflation and give some and alleviate some of the pain that New Yorkers are going through, just like they are through the rest of the country?
It's actually pretty simple. We have to bring spending under control in this state. We've seen tens of billions of dollars added to the annual spending over the course of the last few years. We have to cut taxes across the board. And we have to reverse the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas. We sit on the Marcellus and Utica shales in places like the southern tier of New York, that part of the state that borders Pennsylvania. They want to be able to tap into this resource. We could be exporting not just other states, we could be exporting energy to other countries. We could create jobs and generate revenue and revitalize communities. We can help pay for what is a plan for the largest tax cut in the history of the state. All of this can help relieve this economic pressure.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at what the state of New York did, they tried to suspend their gas tax. But as we look at the graphic here, the gas tax, once it was suspended, the price of gas there in New York, it didn't go down. So here we have a month under the belt to look at this. And it's essentially the same, but compared to a year ago, it's obviously up quite significantly.
Yeah, and the partial gas tax suspension was just one component of what was being discussed. When we're talking about reversing the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas, that taps more into the long-term solution. I believe that we need to approve new pipeline applications. There are a bunch of applications sitting in the state capitol in Albany being delayed, denied, that instead should be getting approved. Now, with one-party Democrat rule, and AOC has gotten a bunch of her friends elected to the state legislature. They have outsized power. They self-describe as socialists. They want to be able to get a new bill passed that would ban all gas hookups on new construction statewide. So the contrast in this fork in the road couldn't possibly be any clearer. The opportunity is there. I mean, as you were playing that one clip earlier from Jim Jordan, you know, as you look at energy policy and the economic pressures and the opportunity and the foreign policy, the average American, when they see Russia cutting, you know, the Russian oil imports being cut off, they don't want to see the U.S. government running off to Iran and Venezuela. They say, hey, let's ramp up domestic energy production. Let's become energy independent again. And that's definitely a mood in New York, too.
All right, Congressman Zeldin, stay with us because after the break, I want to talk to you about your plan to lure New Yorkers who fled during the pandemic back to the Empire State. Plus, you served on active duty in Iraq, and I want to hear about your message to Americans this July 4th weekend as every branch of the military struggles to meet its recruiting goals. More with Congressman Lee Zeldin right ahead. We're back with Congressman Lee Zeldin, who's running for governor in New York. Lee Zeldin, thank you so much for joining us. Crime is a huge issue. Look at this graphic here. The crime across the country is a problem, but leading the way is New York City. It's unbelievable how much crime is up. I mean, look at in New York City, transit crime up 54%, for instance. As governor, what can you do to fight crime?
The first thing I'm going to do right after I'm sworn into office is use my constitutional authority to fire a DA who refuses to enforce the law. His name is Alvin Bragg. That'll be the first thing I do on day one. We need to repeal cashless bail in this state. I put a couple dozen or so proposals on my website, zeldinfornewyork.com/secure our streets. We have people getting released early onto the streets who should remain behind bars. We're seeing correctional officers being assaulted with the implementation of the HALT Act that should be repealed. We should pass a law enforcement Bill of Rights. There's a lot to do. We know how to secure our streets. We have to make sure that we end one-party rule to get this done.
You know, crime's one issue. People aren't going to move to New York and be in New York with the crime as bad as it is. But it's estimated some 300,000 people have fled New York City since the pandemic. What's your plan to make the Empire State more attractive and actually have people actually stay in the state of New York?
I feel like it's important to make life in New York more affordable, to make the streets and the subways and homes and businesses all safer. We should improve the quality of education inside of our schools. A lot of kids stuck in poor-performing public schools. They should have access to a better quality education and respect freedom. Right now, you have Kathy Hochul calling on New Yorkers to be her apostles. She's restricting individual liberty. She believes that public service is about being served by the public. I believe that public service is about serving the public. So I feel like New York can head in a better direction in order to keep these New Yorkers here, but not with the direction we're heading right now.
Well, you've given, I bet most people don't know this about you, but you've given them some service in your life. You serve as a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. You served in Iraq. You know, we're going into 4th of July, and it's time to reflect and thank America and salute the flag. What's your message to Americans and New Yorkers about this 4th of July weekend?
We live in the greatest country in the history of the world, and sometimes we take our freedoms for granted. It seems like many people in government do. We have this Constitution that should be preserved, protected, and defended. While we are gathering on this 4th of July weekend, there are men and women who all across this country and across this world are willing to lay down their lives in defense of us, our flag, our freedom, our community, and our country. So thank God for the generations of men and women who have stood up to serve, willing to sacrifice it all to protect what is the most exceptional country that this globe will ever see. It's something for all of us to be very proud of. Freedom is something for us to treasure and protect. Many are willing to die for it.
Yeah, it's we're going to talk about this a little bit later with Tiffany Smiley, but it's kind of disgusting the way some people are treating the 4th of July and the flag. There are an untold number of people who are overseas serving our country right now. May God bless them and God bless the United States. Congressman, thank you for your service in our military, and we do appreciate you joining us here. Good luck, and good luck in your race.